Hi, I'm your host Nicole, and welcome to Bookish Alchemy, the podcast where we explore the mysteries of the universe through the hidden gems and powerful reads that have changed how I see the world. Brought to you by Curious Mind Studios. Today, I'm bringing you something very special. This might be the most obscure book I've ever read, and I don't say that lightly. I couldn't find anything about the author online. No interviews, background, or scholarly breakdowns. And ironically, if I could gift one book to everyone I know, it would be this one. It's called Open a New Door, A Journey into Spiritual Thinking by Conrad George. And though it carries this mysterious, almost hidden presence, it's actually a relatively modern text that was written in the 70s with a shockingly clear message. This book really is a spiritual blueprint in disguise. It reads like a hybrid of New Thought philosophy, metaphysical science, and esoteric cosmology, but in the most down-to-earth, straight-up kind of way. It's a treasure trove of mystical insight, universal law, and metaphysical clarity. Today we're going to explore the hidden teachings inside Open a New Door. We'll decode its spiritual mechanics through concepts like the God Force, the higher self, the vibrational nature of reality, and the role of karma, reincarnation, and conscious evolution. We'll even touch on that classic cosmic question, how were Earth and man created? So if you're ready to step through the doorway into higher consciousness, you're in the right place. So let's begin. Concept 1, the God Force. So the foundation of this book is what George calls the God Force. This isn't the old man in the sky version of God. It's not even a personality. It's something deeper, more primal. The God Force is pure energy, pure intelligence, and pure vibration. It's the invisible current that holds atoms together, animates life, and flows through all things. The way the author frames this concept echoes across many other mystical traditions. It's Qi in Chinese philosophy, prana in Hinduism, the Force in Star Wars, or the zero-point unified field in quantum mysticism. But George explains it with such clarity and simplicity, it's as if he has somehow obtained a perfect diagram of the soul. To quote George himself, the God Force is the current around us. It is the force that holds all of the atoms in the universe together and gives them their shape, their being. Without this force, we wouldn't just stop existing. We'd fall apart entirely. Everything would lose cohesion. That's how fundamental this is. The God Force is what enables us to see, to hear, to think, and most importantly, to live. Now let's talk about vibrational consciousness and your higher self. According to George, the higher self is essentially your connection to the God Force. It is not separate from God, but it is God filtered through you. He compares levels of consciousness to radio frequencies. The more spiritually tuned in you are, the more you're receiving the broadcast. This higher self is described as pure consciousness. Not your thoughts, not your emotions, not even your personality. Your pure consciousness is that eternal awareness that sees through all those layers. And when we tune in to this higher plane, we begin to understand things we previously couldn't. We experience synchronicities, intuitions, spiritual downloads. We move from reaction to alignment. Our higher self, or our Father in Heaven, is nothing but pure consciousness, which means it is everything. It is complete in itself, in that it knows all, sees all, and is all. How were Earth and man created? This is one of the questions right off the back of the book. According to George, the answer is tied directly to vibration and spiritual law. The God Force expresses itself in form, not in a single moment of creation, but as an ongoing, unfolding process. He explains that the creation of Earth, humanity, and all physical matter arises from different levels of vibration. Higher planes give birth to lower ones. Each realm carries the blueprint for the next, like layers of frequency forming physical shape. As in, as above, so below, or the above is from the below, and the below is from the above. We are not the end product. We are the current iteration of divine energy in motion. And just like we evolved physically, we are also evolving spiritually. George even connects this to Darwinian evolution and spells out the clearest view of evolution that I have ever read. I'll share this as a paraphrased quote from the book. Darwin's theory of evolution has brought science to a new understanding of the creation and the beginning of man. Our bodies have evolved upward from the sea to the man that walks the earth today. But we are not our bodies. We are something much higher and greater. The Bible story of creation in the Garden of Eden is correct for the creation of our souls. It is the story of joining spirit and flesh and the beginning of the union on earth. This reframes evolution not as a contradiction to spiritual belief, but as a parallel revelation of science revealing the growth of our bodies, while mysticism reveals the descent and activation of the soul. Cause and effect, karma, and reincarnation. So how do these spiritual mechanics play into our everyday lives? George explains that there are universal spiritual laws, principles that govern our lives just as surely as gravity holds us to earth. One of the most foundational is the law of cause and effect. As George makes it clear, you reap what you sow. Not as punishment, but as a natural, vibrational consequence. And he links this to the concept of karma and even reincarnation. If we sow discord in this life, that resonance carries forward, possibly into another life where we must rebalance the energy. If we live with love and alignment, that resonance builds toward spiritual ascent. He calls this the law of opportunity. Every action, every thought is a seed. And ultimately, the universe, aka the God force, reflects it back. This sounds a lot like the concept of James Allen's As a Man Thinketh that we discussed in episode 3. Quoting from the book, "We reap only the things that we have sown. We are never in a position of receiving something that we do not deserve." He even expands this into what he calls spiritual magnetism, that our soul is drawn toward circumstances, families, and lives that mirror unresolved energies or offer spiritual opportunities for growth. The power of the mind and conscious evolution. Another striking idea dispelled in this book is the location of the mind. Although most people would assume that their mind is the thinking part within their head, but contrary to popular belief, your mind is not your brain. It's not even physical. In fact, the medical community has yet to identify a precise location for the mind anywhere within the physical body, because the mind is far more complex, as it is the vehicle for your higher self. As many other thinkers, George compares it to a computer that can be programmed, upgraded, and ultimately refined through conscious use. This idea ties into many other esoteric schools of thought, from Hermeticism's idea of the universe as the mind, to metaphysical teachings on neuroplasticity, to theosophical writings on the planes of mind as bridges to spirit. Thought is the tool of the God force and creates our experience. It sends out the vibrational signal that attracts outcomes, and if we don't consciously use it, we become receptacles rather than creators. Another hidden gem is how the author ends each chapter of the book with the same quote in all caps. All of this information is just so much useless knowledge if we don't apply it and use it in our own lives. For truly that is where we can do the most good for mankind, to work on ourselves and to get our lives straight. I love this because it's the classic mystic's blueprint for conscious evolution, a call to personal accountability and the most Zen reminder to practice what you preach. This has easily become one of my favorite books and why it has been reread and visited many times over. Because at its core, it reminds you that you are not separate from the divine. Your perception is at the center of everything in your universe. You are the actual divine in motion. So, this book title may have been obscure, but its message that the God force is always available is crystal clear. You just have to tune your consciousness to the right frequency, because that's ultimately where the magic is. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Bookish Alchemy. If this episode resonated with you, please follow the podcast, share the magic, and leave a review. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and your reviews are the highest form of support as they help the show grow. You've been listening to Bookish Alchemy. Until next time, stay curious and remember, the answers you seek are often found between the lines. Brought to you by Curious Mind Studios.